Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Gregg Sussman, joined today by Jim Sonis of FanDuel, who's here to break down Week 15 and the top stacks on the board in DFS. What's going on, Jim?
I'm in a good mood, Greg, because we get Drew Brees back as a starter for the New Orleans Saints, which means we actually have a traditional game to stack on this slate. We got two high-profile offenses that should be pretty competitive throughout. So, I'm just in a good mood. I got some vacation coming up because of the holidays. So, what could go wrong? I'm in a good spot here. How are you?
I have no vacation coming up. I'm back in snowy New York, and things are great. So let's just move on from there. And let's begin with that top game on the week. It's the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. Many calling it a preview, perhaps, of the Super Bowl. That may be true because Drew Brees is back for the New Orleans Saints, cleared by team doctors and cleared by coach Sean Payton to start for the Saints, which is good news for the Kansas City Chiefs stack of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, it definitely is. And if you're new to DFS, the rationale here is we want to use offenses in high-scoring games. And the odds that this game is high-scoring are higher with Drew Brees out there for a couple of reasons. The first one is that Drew Brees is more efficient than Taysom Hill, but also because they are less run-heavy when Drew Brees is a quarterback. The early down first half pass rate is 55% with Drew Brees compared to 45% with Taysom Hill. So this is a massive upgrade for the Saints, which means it's an upgrade for the Chiefs if we think this game will be competitive and high-scoring throughout. That's why I want to go with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey as my first stack. And Kelsey over Hill is a tough call. I like both a lot, and I'm going to use both for sure. But with Travis Kelsey, the edge you get relative to his position is just so hard to pass up. If you look at 20-point FanDuel games this year, Travis Kelsey has hit that benchmark 6 separate times. The only pass catcher, I said pass catcher, not tight end, who has done so more than that is Devontae Adams. Travis Kelsey has more 20-point games than Tyreek Hill by 1. He has more than every tight end by double. Darren Waller has 3, Kelsey has 6. It's just such a massive leg up on everybody else. So I want Travis Kelsey out there quite a bit. We saw Darren Waller do work against the Saints defense earlier in the year, and I would expect Kelsey to do the same here. Patrick Mahomes, sure, it's a tough matchup, but that doesn't really matter for him. He's had 6 separate games against top 10 pass defenses so far this year, and his passing efficiency is relatively even. He had 31 FanDuel points in one. He had 40 in another against a tougher defense. He gets to play inside, so I honestly don't care about matchups with the Chiefs. You just use them if they are in a competitive game, and honestly, if they're not in a competitive game too, but this is the most competitive game they may have until the Super Bowl. So I want to load up on the Chiefs here, run it back with Alvin Kamara or Michael Thomas, and just let the rest of the lineup do what it needs to do because they are worth prioritizing when they're in a game this juicy.
Making sure you have Travis Kelsey locked up with Patrick Mahomes. It's a way to win, certainly, on Sunday because you're getting this competitive matchup. And we know that at times it seems like the Chiefs are kind of toying with their opponents and maybe not going all out. In a game that's going to be competitive, in a dome, in, like I said, a preview potentially of the Super Bowl, they're going to go all out. And you're going to get a lot of Travis Kelsey with Patrick Mahomes. That is a matchup, along with Tyreek Hill if you could fit him in too. Certainly a stack worth putting in there. Next stack on the board, well, it's a classic that we've used throughout the year. It's Tom Brady paired up with Mike Evans. It's been Tom Brady's favorite red zone target has been Mike Evans. And there's games where he has 0 catches outside of 2 inside the 1-yard line for a touchdown. And hopefully we get more this week, but that is something we've been able to count on. I know you don't want to necessarily rely on touchdowns, but with Mike Evans, you kind of can.
Yeah, you can. And I think that the yardage upside is there, too. We've not seen it from Mike Evans with Tom Brady. He's yet to get 100 yards in the games since Antonio Brown joined this team. But the building blocks for a 100-yard game are there, especially in a game that profiles pretty well for DFS. The Buccaneers are playing indoors. I will always take that. All 3 stacks here are indoors this week. Probably sets a theme there. But they're also facing the league's 23rd ranked pass defense. The Falcons have been better recently, but they're still not a good defense. This is just the second time the Buccaneers have faced a bottom half pass defense since Antonio Brown joined the fold. And the first time they did, Brady went for 31 FanDuel points against the Carolina Panthers. And I think we could see a pretty similar output here. The Falcons encourage you to throw the ball against them because their rush defense is very good. Their pass defense is not. And also with no Ronald Jones this week, we could see the Buccaneers be a bit more pass happy than they would be otherwise. So I think that's why we can talk ourselves into Tom Brady paired with a good matchup. Now, you talked about the red zone role for Mike Evans. He's also getting deep work. He has 34% of the team's deep targets since Antonio Brown joined the team. little bit of an injury scare last week, but now he is over that. I'm writing off week 14 for the Bucs because they ran just 49 offensive plays in that game. It's hard for anyone to do work in that scenario. They're not going to run 49 plays, I hope, in week 15 as well. So I think it's a good week to go back to the well. Did not work out last week when I wanted to go with Tom Brady, but I think it could here in a game where they're playing indoors against an offense that should be able to score at least some points, even with Julio Jones likely out. So I think the Bucs, good to go back to this week. Burned us last week, but why not give it one more shot and see if we can benefit this time around?
Well, we better benefit, Jim, if we're putting these guys in our lineup once again. The Atlanta defense, like you said, they've been better since Dan Quinn was fired. Raheem Morris has his team playing better overall. They're not good, and that's kind of a misnomer here. And playing indoors, getting Tom Brady, trying to get right for the playoffs and get ready for it. Paired up with Mike Evans this week. Hopefully, it is that first time he goes over 100 yards, finds the end zone like he has been, and the combination works for us on Sunday. One last stack to get to, and that's one that, well, we've talked about Kyler Murray a lot. Apparently with Kenny Drake isn't something we've done all that recently. And another game indoors, they're facing off against the Eagles, an Eagles team that obviously played better last week, beat the New Orleans Saints out of nowhere. And you hope this matchup is closer because of Jalen Hurts. And Kyler Murray, paired with Kenny Drake, is somebody that finds the end zone quite often and definitely receives the carries inside the 5. It's something worth at least discussing here, especially because Deandre Hopkins hasn't been the same guy for the second half of the year. He hasn't been nearly as reliable as he was earlier on.
Yeah, you touched on the key point here, Greg. Touchdown equity between these two guys, between Kyler Murray and Kenyon Drake. We know it with Kyler because he's so dynamic. He's a good passer, or can be a good passer, and he runs a lot in the red zone too. But Kenyon Drake, his red zone role is phenomenal. Since he returned from his injury, he has 45% of the team's red zone carries or targets. That is, if it were his full season number, it'd be the best number on the main slate for Sunday. So he's had a massive red zone role. He's converting in the red zone, and he's still getting chances despite the fact he tends to fumble more than you would hope. We can like Kenyon Drake regardless of whether or not Chase Edmonds goes. Now, Chase Edmonds has practice on Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously, if Edmonds can't go, Kenyon Drake becomes kind of in that same tier of a play with Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery as being a really good target in the mid-range on FanDuel. But the touchdown equity will be there whether Edmonds plays or not, which is why I feel comfortable doing this, despite the fact we don't know if Edmonds will play. So Kenyon Drake, I think, is a good guy to pair with Kyler Murray because the red zone opportunity should be there. Now, you don't have to pair Kyler Murray with Kenyon Drake. I do think you can go DeAndre Hopkins, despite the fact that the productivity has been kind of up and down. Christian Kirk has had a really bad role recently, but he's $5,300 and has a path to upside. So you could go there too, but also you can run Kyler Murray by himself because last week he ran the ball 13 times after running it 15 times the previous 3 games combined. So Kyler, I think, is back from a DFS perspective. His salary is down about $1,000 from its peak, and I think it's a good time to buy back in. This Eagles secondary is super banged up, so I want Kyler Murray for sure. I think he got options for stacking, but one I want to make sure does not go overlooked is Kyler Murray paired with Kenyon Drake trying to gobble up all the touchdowns this team could score.
I think it's an interesting point you hit on there, Jim, that you don't need to pair Kyler Murray up with anybody potentially here in a Cardinal stack because Kyler Murray does so much on his own. But if you want that touchdown equity, having Kyler and Kenyon Drake pretty much guarantees you get all of those Cardinal touchdowns. And I think it's something that is at least worth considering here on Sunday in a matchup that hopefully will be back and forth a little bit and allow for a lot of points and a lot of rushing yards for Kyler Murray and for Kenyon Drake. That's going to do it for us here on the FanDuel Hurry Up. Jim, I am ready for Week 15. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg. Should be a fun one. Looking forward to it and looking forward to breaking it all down with you again next week on Monday.
Absolutely, Jim. And for those of us that are trying to get our fantasy championship, not me, good luck. And for those of us that are out, well, we'll just try to win a little bit of money in DFS. For Jim Sonis, I'm Gregg Sussman. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of the FanDuel Hurry Up.